Charles Manson, the mastermind. Charles Miles Manson, born on November 12, 1934, had a troubled childhood marked by neglect, abuse, and frequent run ins with the law. By the time he reached adulthood, Manson had spent more time in reformatories and prisons than out in the free world. His criminal activities ranged from petty theft to more serious crimes like pimping and fraud. However, it was during the 1960s, amidst the counterculture movement, that Manson's charismatic yet sinister personality found a following. Manson moved to California, where he began to attract a group of devoted followers, many of whom were young women. He preached a convoluted philosophy that mixed elements of Scientology, the Bible, and the occult, with a strong emphasis on an impending apocalyptic race war he called Helter Skelter. Manson believed he and his family would survive the cataclysm and emerge as the leaders of the New World Order. By 1968, Manson and his followers were living on the Spawn Ranch, an old movie set outside Los Angeles. Manson desired for fame, and it led him to pursue a music career, and he tried to integrate himself with influential people in the entertainment industry, including music producer Terry Melcher. When these efforts failed, Manson's paranoia and resentment grew. On the night of August 8th through the 9th, 1969, Manson ordered his followers to carry out a series of brutal murders at the home of then pregnant actress Sharon Tate. The next night, they killed Leno and Rosemary LaBianca. The murders were meant to incite the race war Manson had prophesied. Manson was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of 7 people. He was sentenced to death, which was later commuted to life in prison when California abolished the death penalty in 1972. Manson remained in prison until his death on November 19, 2017. Susan Atkins, the zealous follower. Susan Denise Atkins, born on May 7, 1948, had a troubled upbringing marked by familial instability and personal rebellion. By her late teens, she had fallen into a lifestyle of drugs and petty crime. She met Manson in 1967 and was quickly drawn into his orbit. Atkins, deeply influenced by Manson's teachings, became one of his most loyal followers. Atkins was involved in the murder of Sharon Tate and her friends. She later testified that she had personally stabbed Tate to death, although her accounts varied over the years. Atkins' role in the murders and her lack of remorse during the initial trial, she famously sang and laughed during her testimony, shocked the nation. Atkins was sentenced to death, which was commuted to a life sentence. During her incarceration, she became a born-again Christian and expressed remorse for her actions. Despite numerous parole hearings, she was never granted release. Atkins died of brain cancer on September 24, 2009, having spent 38 years in prison. Patricia Krenwinkel, the compliant disciple. Patricia Diane Krenwinkel, born December 3, 1947, was a shy and insecure young woman who struggled with feelings of inadequacy. She met Manson in 1967 and, seeking a sense of belonging, quickly became one of his most devoted followers. Krenwinkel's involvement in the Tate LaBianca murders was extensive. She participated in both nights of the killing spree. Krenwinkel's initial coldness and later expressions of remorse have marked her long incarceration. She has been involved in numerous prison programs and has expressed deep regret for her actions. Despite her efforts to rehabilitate herself, Krenwinkel has been denied parole multiple times. She remains in prison, making her the longest-serving female inmate in the California penal system. Leslie Van Houten, the youngest accomplice. Leslie Louise Van Houten, born August 23, 1949, was the youngest member of the Manson family involved in the murders. She grew up in a middle-class family but rebelled during her teenage years. By the time she met Manson in 1968, Van Houten was deeply involved in the counterculture movement and experimenting with drugs. Van Houten participated in the LaBianca murders, holding down Rosemary LaBianca while another family member stabbed her. She then took a knife and inflicted additional wounds. Her youth and apparent vulnerability have all been points of focus during her numerous parole hearings. Van Houten has expressed deep remorse for her actions and has been a model prisoner, earning college degrees and participating in various prison programs. Despite this, her parole bids have been consistently denied, although she was granted parole in 2020, only for the decision to be overturned by the California governor. As of 2023, she was again paroled. Charles Tex Watson, the enforcer. Charles Denton Tex Watson, born December 2, 1945, was a standout student and athlete in Texas before falling into the drug culture and eventually meeting Manson. Watson became Manson's right-hand man and was a key player in the Tate LaBianca murders, personally committing many of the killings. Watson's role in the murders was brutal and hands-on. He led the attack on the Tate residence, killing several people, including Sharon Tate, and was heavily involved in the LaBianca murders the following night. Watson was sentenced to death, later commuted to life in prison. While in prison, Watson became a born-again Christian and started a prison ministry. Despite his claims of rehabilitation, Watson has been denied parole multiple times and remains incarcerated. Bobby Beausoleil, the troubled artist. Robert Kenneth Bobby Beausoleil, born November 6, 1947, was an aspiring musician and actor before joining the Manson family. Beausoleil's involvement with the family led to the murder of Gary Hinman, a musician and acquaintance of Manson's, over a financial dispute. Beausoleil was arrested before the Tate LaBianca murders, but was deeply connected to the group's ideology and actions. Beausoleil was sentenced to death, which was commuted to life in prison. While in prison, he has continued his artistic pursuits, creating music and visual art. Beausoleil has expressed remorse for his crime and has sought parole multiple times, with his requests being consistently denied. His continued incarceration underscores the lasting impact of his association with Manson and the severity of his crime. Bruce Davis, the shadowy figure. Bruce M. Davis, born October 5, 1942, was a lesser known but significant member of the Manson family. He was involved in the murders of Gary Hinman and Donald Shorty Shea, a ranch hand at Spawn Ranch. David's role in the Manson family was more behind the scenes, but his participation in these brutal murders make him a key figure in the group's violent history. David was sentenced to life in prison and has been a model prisoner, earning a doctorate degree in philosophy and becoming a minister. Despite his rehabilitation efforts and expressions of remorse, Davis has been denied parole multiple times, reflecting the enduring impact of his association with the Manson family. Steve Clem Grogan, the youngest killer. Steve Dennis Clem Grogan, born July 13, 1951, was the youngest member of the Manson family involved in the murders. Grogan participated in the murder of Donald Shorty Shea, which was particularly brutal. He was initially sentenced to death, but his sentence was commuted to life in prison. Grogan's case is unique in that he eventually revealed the location of Shea's body to authorities, which was seen as a significant act of cooperation. Due to his efforts and his apparent remorse, Grogan was granted parole in 1985, making him one of the few Manson family members to be released from prison. He has since lived a quiet life out of the public eye. These stories of the Manson family members who were given life in prison highlight the enduring consequences of their actions and the complex interplay of remorse, rehabilitation, and justice. Their lives, forever marked by the horrific crimes they committed, serves as a grim reminder of the destructive power of charismatic leaders and the vulnerability of those who fall under their influence. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and as always, sleep well.